And we are live. It's another great day in Cribl TV. It's one of the most exciting live streams that I've done in quite some time. We have the fabulous AI team from Cribl on with us today. We're going to introduce one of the best features I've seen in a while. We're going to explain why. We're also going to talk about the series on AI that we're going to do in terms of features, different ways they can help teams, and just give more of the Cribl goodness that everyone's come to expect. So let's have quick intros. Sydney, do you want to start?
Sure. I'm Sydney Mares. I am an AI PM here at Cribl.
Nikhil?
Hello, everyone. I'm Nikhil. I am on the engineering team here at Cribl, and I look over all of our AI projects.
There you go. Giovanni?
Hey there, Giovanni Mola, also a PM here at Cribl, and really excited to talk about these new features today.
This is great. So Sydney, why don't you kick it off in terms of, we announced Cribl Copilot Editor at RSA. What is that? For the average user, why do you care?
Yeah, great question, Ed. So Cribl Copilot Editor is a completely new experience for how you can build pipelines within Cribl. Some of you may be really familiar with pipelines. Some of you may be new to pipelines. Copilot Editor is really meant to kind of bridge the gap there. It helps you kind of in an interactive workflow, walks you through step by step, gives you the ability to kind of use natural language to say, I want this type of transformation, or I want to go into this type of schematization, or I want to drop fields or data from this data set. And the really big thing about it is it's less about trying to replace things or automate a lot of the process. It's really just meant to make the process easier. So it keeps you involved every step of the way. You validate every step of the way, and you get the opportunity to kind of control and decide how you want those pipelines to be built.
That's super exciting. I was recently with a customer, it was just last week, and they were talking about all the effort they were putting into mapping data into a new tool. Very complex schema. And this is someone who really knows Cribl. It was taking them 3 or 4 days to get it done. And so, from a value standpoint, is this going to make it faster? Is it going to make the results better? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, great question. So faster is always better. I think we can all agree with that. A big piece of this is just making it simpler, right? Streamlining that process, helping me go step by step, giving me validations along the way. The AI also takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So it gives me a recommendation based on the log type that I put in, will tell me, hey, I identified this log type. Is this the next step you want to take? And so instead of me trying to guess like, I've got to figure out how to do this exact transformation, the AI can make those recommendations for me. And I can sit more in the position of just validating and making sure that it's correct. So it gets me kind of 80 to 90% there, with me adding that extra 10 to 20% to make sure that it's crisp and on point.
Yeah, I think that's particularly exciting, because everything that we can do to make the working lives of our users simpler is the way to go. And I especially like that idea of safety. Like previously in our live streams that I did with Nikhil, we always talked about the concept of human in the loop AI and what that means. Because we're not going to ask the AI to just do its thing and hope for the best. We're going to give our users the ability to say, okay, this is what I want. This is what we should do. This is what the changes I'm going to make, and make it just manageable. And so does that sound about right?
That's exactly right. Human in the loop is the number one thing here. And so although this is interactive and the AI does make recommendations, it's a step-by-step process. You're engaged in every step of the way. You're approving pipelines, editing, aspects of your pipeline, being able to go back and say, actually, I didn't mean that, or, oh, that's not quite right, I want to adjust it. You have control every step of the way. The AI can kind of help and support there, i.e. the Copilot, but it gives you the opportunity to kind of take some of the guesswork out, not have to do as much by yourself, but you very much get to kind of control the environment. It's never just the AI taking off by itself.
That sounds really cool. So, let's get into the goodies. Who's going to do a demo?
I'm going to jump in and do it today, Ed.
All right, that's awesome. All right, so here, let me get your you're showing your desktop. Okay, so show me. So what's so great about Copilot Editor?
So the amazing thing about Copilot Editor is I could be a net new user to Cribl and immediately start being productive. And I'm going to show you exactly how it works today by landing in our Quick Connect page. Our Quick Connect page allows you to do exactly that, connect sources to destinations. But when you're connecting a source to a destination, there might be a lot of transformations that you want to apply in between. So in this example, I have data picking up from Palo Alto Network, sending into my Cribl Lake destination. And just to give you an idea of what that looks like, I'm sending raw data over to my lake destination, it's going to be that classic Palo Alto Networks untransformed data and raw. But what I want to do is get this data transformed into OCSF standard format. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag from that source to this destination. I've got a new bucket that I want to send that data to. And now I see this build with Copilot Editor button. So I'm going to initiate this process and jump into it.
So is this the only place to engage with Copilot Editor, or are you going to be able to engage with it in other places inside of Stream?
You'll also be able to engage this editing experience from the pipelines page. So in the pipelines page, there'll be a dropdown. You'll be able to see an icon that says build with Copilot Editor, and the same exact experience that you see laid out here will appear.
Very cool.
So again, say I'm a new user, never used Cribl before. I need to capture samples of a stream that's coming in. I already see that Copilot Editor provides that front and center. It says capture events from that source that I just dragged. So I can click this button. This could be a syslog feed, so something more generic. For the purposes of this demo, I just have a data gen that's replaying this raw Palo Alto Networks traffic data. And what it's going to do is it's going to add all of the events from the capture that I pulled, display them on the page. And then once those events are displayed, I'm also going to see that Copilot Editor doesn't stop there. It also does an inference on the type of data that it's picking up in this sample. So you see that it's saying that this is firewall traffic logs, and it gives me a confidence level that it's firewall traffic logs, as well as the reasoning as to why it thinks it's firewall traffic. So this is just huge. This gives me the confidence that this system understands the data that's flowing through it, and it can help me guide the way as I figure out what I want to do to transform, filter, or reduce the data. And this applies to all data.
And so is that middle button about OCFS? So is that it? That's all you have to do?
Yeah, it's that simple. So this middle button, I basically have a series of different options where I can apply transformations generically to my events. I could either transform all of my events to common security schemas, like for example, OCSF, or I could just filter down my events. I have a lot of options, but this gives me a good guidance as to how I go through the initial tasks of transforming my data so that it lands in the destination in the proper format. So for the sake of this demo, I'll do that OCSF transformation.
That's really neat. So is OCFS the only option?
So for now, in our initial release, we'll be starting with OCSF, and we'll be expanding support for other common security schemas like ECS, ASIM, UDM. There's a series of these different common security schemas that are found across different SIEMs. So OCSF is the standard open framework that several organizations are adopting. So for Cribl, it made the most sense to start with this one because we are an open framework company that is always making it easy to extend all of your data to the framework that best fits your needs. And this was the most logical place for us to start.
Okay.
To follow up on that before Giovanni jumps into the next step, we would love to hear feedback though. If people want other schemas, we want to know what schemas are most important to you in addition to OCSF.
So like ECS and UDM in particular?
Yeah, exactly.
What about
100%? Yeah, that's a big one as well. A lot of our customers who use Cribl are sending data to Splunk, and the common information model is another one that's on our list. So we're listening, we're ready to hear the feedback, and we will add to our library as we hear from you.
That's awesome. All right, so what's next?
So right off the bat, I was given a recommended category that this data most likely maps into. So it's giving us that it's sensing that this belongs to the network activity category, but I also have the ability to override the setting and pick from our library. So this is going to be any of the other event categories that are within OCSF to map the specific data to how I see fit, because I am familiar with Palo Alto traffic data, and I know that Palo Alto traffic data does map into network activity. I'm going to go ahead and click this button. But again, this is just another example of we take a human in the loop first approach to all of these tools, and you essentially get to steer the AI in the direction that best suits your needs and makes you the most productive. So at any time you can override the system. We're having you make these choices rather than just making the AI make the choices for you and receiving the output after the fact. So
Okay.
this allows me to have ultimate control over how my data is transformed.
So what's this? I mean, it looks like, so it's called a pipeline plan.
Yeah, so glad you asked. This is a super exciting component of the Copilot editor called Pipeline Plan, which essentially has all of the transformations that Copilot is taking in order to build my Cribl pipeline. And it's doing it all with natural language. So as you can see, all of these different transformations are listed out for me. I can go ahead and edit this pipeline plan and make any adjustments if I want a different field name to be listed or transformed. This gives me the ability to not have familiarity with building a pipeline using the classic Cribl function and allows me to use natural language to control how a pipeline actually gets generated on the Cribl side.
I really like this. This looks great.
So everything I just looked at looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm this pipeline plan. But if I was ever in the need to make modifications to it, I can do just about anything to make these changes, save them, and then confirm. And Copilot Editor will go ahead and generate that pipeline for me.
That's nice.
So within a few seconds, it's already parsed all of this data out of the raw field, and it's done a series of evals that would have largely taken hours at best. Sometimes this stuff takes weeks to do, Ed, and
Yeah, I got to tell you,
people
this
still
is
don't get it right.
Yeah, this is like dirty talk. I mean, this is so much work. I mean, this is something else. Wow.
Yeah, so you can see that all of this crazy nested object was immediately generated for me. Now, again, I want to validate this. I want to make sure that everything is correct before I deploy this into any production system. As Sydney was saying earlier, this gets us about 90% of the way. There's always that need to do the additional checks, but
Right.
Copilot takes care of 90% of that effort for me.
Yeah,
It gives
it
me a
even
great
took out
starting
raw.
point.
Yeah, I mean, it took out raw by default. So, the amount of data should be very manageable now.
Exactly. So because this looks great, I'm going to go ahead and approve the pipeline.
All right.
And now what this is going to do is give me the validation that the pipeline it generated is working correctly. And now I can finalize this in Quick Connect. Awesome. So it's saved and validated. Now I can go back to Quick Connect. And I can see that the pipeline that it was just created is showing up here. I'm going to commit and deploy. Commit and deploy was successful. So now I can see that if I go to this capture, my data should now be sending over to the Palo Alto Network's traffic bucket that I set up in the OCSF compliant format. So let's give it a minute here to do this capture. So here you can see that gnarly JSON object is landing perfectly. You can see all of those fields that I was showing in that other screen. So yeah, this is just a huge game changer for us and for every security engineer that's been tasked with mapping data into OCSF. I think this is going to be a huge productivity gain.
Yeah, this is massive. I mean, just haven't had to do this kind of work personally. You're taking hours and hours of work, turning it into mostly spending your time on validation. I mean, that's it. You can't beat that.
Yeah, we're really excited about this, and this is really just the beginning. There's a lot of other common security schemas out there, and again, at Cribl, we promote flexibility, control, and choice over all of your data. So wherever your data needs to point to, we're going to help you shape it so that it fits into that correctly.
Yeah, it's great to see the growth in Copilot. I've been harassing Nikhil endlessly on the live streams lately, talking about different things we can do, and so just this expansion is very, very exciting. So just a couple of questions, and so I'm not sure who wants to answer, but so like I'm an ordinary average user. How would I validate this? Other than you're sending it into your tool, but maybe my tool, my production tool is not ready. Should I use a dev instance of my system of analysis, or what should I do?
Yeah, you have a lot of different options here. If you're a cloud customer and you are using Cribl Stream, You can have a test workspace where you can test these things out. You're able to test these in different worker groups. So essentially setting aside development environments via a worker group, a workspace, an on-premises instance that has access to the Copilot capabilities. Any of these would be perfect scenarios where you can test these configs end to end before deploying them to higher level environments.
Oh, thanks for asking. So this will be available for self-managed instances of Stream?
Yes,
That's
you'll
right.
just have to activate it.
And that's key. And just for everyone, make sure you go into your settings and turn it on. And this again comes back to, we're not going to release tools that have AI activated by default. We want to make sure you know what's going on with your systems. And so, like, would it make sense to say I'm going to output this to a dev instance of Lake or a dev instance of Splunk or Elastic before I promote it to prod?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can test your changes with your development instances. You can also test by sending this to a dev null, ensuring that the shape looks correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of different options at play, but if you're following like the classic system development lifecycle for promoting your configs, it would be a great idea to have everything sending to a dev instance, ensuring that it's getting parsed correctly, and then promoting those configs up to your higher level stage and production environments.
This is really cool. And I think this is a great lead into the idea of human in the loop AI, because what does that mean? I think it's really important because in today's AI thirst trap almost of, let's throw some AI pixie dust on it and it'll all be better. We're asking the user to still be involved. Nikhil or Sydney, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm happy to touch upon that real quick. And just on the point of validation, before I sort of like talk about human in the loop, I'll also note that since you're working on a schema in this particular case, Copilot will also validate that your output events actually fit into that schema. Since it's a JSON schema, we can actually do that in a very deterministic way. So there's some amount of validation sort of also built into the system itself, which again, it helps you as the human operator who is engaging with the system. And the way we have designed Copilot and all of our AI product features at Cribl is by keeping you as the human operator in mind. And really, it comes down to like two core guiding principles, if you will. The first one is explainable AI. So, as you saw when Giovanni was showing us the demo, you have Copilot really narrating every step that it takes in plain language, right? So it brings you along. It doesn't do things opaquely, automatically. And at any point in the flow, you can really inspect what it's really thinking about. Like, when it classified those logs as Palo Alto events, it told us why it did that, and that was because of it found the traffic keyword in there, and sort of like a couple of other heuristics that it took into account when it classified those logs as Palo Alto logs. And really, why this matters is it builds trust. Nothing is hidden from you as a human operator. Nothing is hard coded, right? You have the ability to audit decisions before Copilot actually puts them into motion, which brings me to our second guiding principle, which is steerable AI. And this really, it gives you so many knobs and levers throughout the process. You saw that entire pipeline plan. That's really one giant editable document that you can go in and you can ask it to don't drop a certain field because you're sure you're using a schema. We've all been there, right? You're using a standard schema, but really it's like there's something custom going on, and you can easily take OCSF off our library, but then make a little modification to that, right? So schemas are editable, pipeline plans are editable. So you're really we're putting the control in your hands, and you can steer Copilot in a way that makes the perfect sense for your particular use case. And why this matters again is you as the human operator stay in that decision loop, and you really maintain that agency when you're operating on environments that you're accountable for, really.
A real quick question. So just for my overly simplistic brain, so I have the ability to take it out of the box, or I have the ability to customize it. I can make either choice, but both are still whatever fits my needs. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. Sydney, what would you add to that?
Yeah, definitely. So part of the reason why we offer that out of the box schemas is to make it as easy as possible, kind of going back to this idea of, getting you 80% of the way. So if that's what gets you to your 80%, then excellent. But we also recognize not everyone uses OCSF, or maybe I have something that's not seam related that I want to put in there as a JSON schema. So we want to give you that ability and that flexibility to control the environment. And whatever can get you to that 80% is what we're pushing for. So you do have that ability to control it, Ed, like you mentioned. Maybe I want to add just an extra field, or maybe I want to put in a whole new schema altogether. Or I can take what's out of the box and just customize it a little bit and tweak it a little bit for my needs.
That's awesome. And this is something I think for the vast majority of our users, out of the box is out of the box for a good reason. And so stick to standards if you can, but if you have that need, if you have the skill set, don't be afraid to customize. But if this is the first time you've ever messed around with a schema, don't customize it. Go with it as it is, because it is a tangled web that you could get yourself into. So that's super encouraging. I'm so excited about this. So we're hitting about time. So Sydney, Nikhil, Giovanni, do you have anything you want to close out with?
I'll make one last comment. We are excited for people to try out this feature. We're super, super eager to hear your feedback. So be on the lookout for this. We have a few more of these videos coming soon as well to show you what else is in our Swiss Army knife. And we'd love to be able to get your feedback along the way. So looking forward to sharing that info with you.
Yeah, I cannot wait. It's going to be a really fun series. I'm going to be harassing y'all forever talking about these things, because I think it's so important to get the features and and just the great set of features that Copilot offers to our users out front center for everybody. So again, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Everyone, the audience, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And we look forward to doing this again soon.
Yeah, and the last thing I will add is this will be available for all of you starting on the 21st of this month, which
There
is
we go.
just a couple of days away at this point.
That's right. It's going to be really exciting. And so again, Cribl Cloud and self-managed stream. So that's going to be there for everybody. So
And it's free.
great news. There we go. Even better.
The best
Y'all
part.
love that. Yeah, I want that AI, but it's twice as much. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to talk again soon.